And here we go on the Orange and Brown Talk podcast. Dan Labbe, Mary Kay Cabot, Ellis Williams, and we are trying to build the Browns receiver room in 2021. And this is a very complicated question because, look, we've talked about Odell Beckham. We've talked about his future here. We've talked about what that could or maybe could not look like. But as we try and build what this receiver room is, I guess let's just start here. Mary Kay, what should the Browns' goal be as they build this receiver room? What kind of traits should they be looking for?
Well, I think they should go a little bit younger and a little bit faster. I think they need to get some speed on the field, and I think they need to get a little bit of youth on the field and try to sort of kind of plan for the future a little bit and have a receiving core that can take them into the next 3 or 4 years.
Ellis, what kind of traits would you be looking for to build the Browns receiver room?
I think Mary Kay nailed it. Last year during the draft, I wondered if they would target a guy in the middle rounds because of the strengths of that class. And now it looks like the exact same thing is happening this year. This is another deep group of receivers. The talent on the top end in the first round matches what happened a year ago. And then throughout the class, you're finding some middle class receivers that perhaps you can develop into some talented long-term solutions at the position. Speed and explosiveness comes first, though. You can't draft a guy who has those type of traits and then isn't ready to step on the football field either, because you need to have that balance of both ready to make an impact and checks all the boxes of, size, speed, athleticism, and whatnot, which makes whether Odell Beckham Jr. being in that room is the end game. And I'll put it this way: aside from the speed and youth, there also needs to be some size. I mentioned that after Odell went down, I had just a gut feeling that there was something about Jarvis and Odell playing together when they're just the two receivers on the field that probably isn't best for Baker Mayfield just based on their stature. We're talking two, 5'11" receivers, very similar body makeup. And that kind of came to show its truth when Rashard Higgins stepped up and filled that Odell role in a sense, despite how different they are. Rashard being a bigger player with a larger catch radius. And I think Baker, like any young quarterback, needs a body like that. So whether it's bringing Higgins back or they're targeting receivers in the draft, I think that Donovan Peoples-Jones' size from 6'1" to 6'3" is where I think they would look. Now, if they bring in a guy more like JoJo Natson's size, who I think I've been on the record saying would have made an impact, at least a splash play 1 or 2 times in that Chiefs game, I could see that too. But they need explosiveness, like Mary Kay said, and I think they need some size, whether that's bringing Higgins back or giving just Baker your traditional outside, bigger bodied receiver.
So the more I've thought about this and the more time I've put into it is I've kind of come to the conclusion that I think the Browns have their receiver room if they want it.
All right.
Essentially, with a few additions. I think it starts with Jarvis and Odell. And then I think Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think you start with those 3, and then you complement it from there. I mean, I hate to say it. I know Browns fans don't want to hear it. I don't think Rashard Higgins would be happy here because I just don't know if there's a role for him in this offense if you bring those 2 guys back. Because I'm going to tell you now, your targets, just write this down in pen for next year. This is your target leaders next year. Your first receiver, your second receiver, Kareem Hunt, Austin Hooper, your second tight end, and then your third receiver. That's how your targets are going to shake out next year. So I almost feel like the Browns could do a lot worse than just bringing back Odell, Jarvis, Peoples-Jones. I mean, I'm a little nervous banking on a guy that was a 6th round pick because I know he had a really nice year. I know he did well in limited opportunities. We'll see. We'll see how kind of his career goes from here. But I think if you've got him as sort of, you're another fast guy on the outside, he's got good size. He's 6'2", like 215. And then you kind of complement that with a draft pick. You've got guys like Hodge coming back. And again, I don't want to bank too much on a guy like Hodge or Natson either, but you can find guys who can step in and fill certain roles. I think it starts with those 3. I think it starts with Beckham, Landry, and Peoples-Jones, and you go from there. And maybe there's a role for Higgins, but I can't promise you that Higgins is going to come back here and be happy because I just don't know if the targets are there unless they decide Higgins is their number 2.